How long did you work in the Surrey Docks?
From 1936 to 80. To 1980. From 1936 to 1980, yeah.
What was your job?
My job, I was a docker, as such. Working for all the main docks here, like furnace and CPR, just the same as all the others, same as your dad. And he probably has told you, and then over there, and all the big boats, like, you know, like the Queen Mary things and all that type of thing, but not here, only over in the Royal group of docks, you know, where he went afterwards, like, you know, and down the till, me and him went to till.
Was it hard work?
I would say it was beyond hard work. If you was on 300 weight bags of sugar, you was lucky if you done 20 minutes, if you understand what I'm saying. It was hard work as such. But then again, if you had a gang of men, you have 6 men that worked for you down the hold, and the other 4 men were in the barge, with joviality and singing, like me and your dad was always singing. It got your mind off the work of what you were doing. Like you would do 500 tonne of cement. I mean, you come to think of it, and you're doing it and doing it and doing it, and you're working all day, and you get a couple of seconds off, or if you're working out in the river, and you're doing that, you're putting it down and into a barge overside, which is going somewhere else up the river. You know, you either going up the river or you vice versa, and that's what you've done. But 9 times out of 10, you would do 500 tonne of sugar, cement, and that was the ordinary bags of cement, you know, underweight bags, you know.
Was you happy in the docks?
I would never say I wasn't. I always loved my job, because at the finish, I finished up in charge of Trinity Wharf, one of the wharfs along just around town, just around town by the York, another York, the pub there. I became the #1 man there, and I was working for Nestles, all the chocolate and that. And I had a gang of men, I had 2 gangs of men. It's what you needed, because once the ship, you done your ship, and you had barges. But there, we had loaded the barges there on the shoreways, you know, like tied up on the shore, that's what I'm saying. And you got that big chance of unloading them into the warehouse, which was there at Trinity Wharf. And so then it went on and on until such times as they shut the docks down. And you had to follow the trend by virtue of the fact that you were told where to go. So they used to say, you've got to go to number 47. Well, that was a firm in the Royal group of docks. 47 don't make a difference. It could be a unit of certain people. Then you had the meat boats that came in, the old red funnels and the white funnels and all that, which they were called in there. Your dad can tell you, well, it probably, but anyway, that's what we had to do. And as you know, they turned it into an airway, where we used to unload lambs by the ton, thousands by the thousands. We're now landing aircraft there. This is it's true, isn't it? And it's true.
Why do you think you were so happy in the docks in this hard work?
And by virtue of the fact that if you had the right type of people you were working with, like your dad, like he always liked coming down in the dock, because he could have seats up, you know, and especially if it was with Terry Gowls or people like me, who was always mucking about anything, you name it, anything. The enjoyment was as such. Sometimes you didn't want, you went straight into a pub. You probably didn't want to have a drink. But by virtue of the fact that I was going to have 2 only, and finish up till 9 o'clock at night, and then fucking night, and then they jump on their buses and disappear. the camaraderie was there by if and so, like your dad in his youth. I don't mean in his youth, in his younger days when he was married to the Asian and Miss World, as I used to call her. No, titty not, titty not. And he used to say, Charles, he always called me Charles, can you do the thing? I said, you ain't got to go again, have you? Blimey, I said, all you're doing is producing babies. He said, no. He said, I want to get away because I'm doing the thing. I'm going to earn a couple of bob. I said, yeah, of course you can. You know very well you can with me. And that's how we used to do it. Like, we put our guts out. And that when they say, and they all of a sudden the governor come along and saying, yeah, we had all kinds of, nah, we're finished. We done that job. You done it? Yeah, nothing to do with you. Clear all. And up we walked out the hatch and, you know, disappeared out the side. Yeah, that's why I say camaraderie was as such. If that was moving, that was gone. You know, that is it in the old, whatever a person, you was working with me and my gang of 12, everything would be laid on. Someone would come out of the barge and do your job down the alley. Would make a difference, you know. And no one would go because you'd be still doing it and still earning money. Because they knew that 12 men could do that job and do it. So for us. Yeah.
How close was you to those men you worked with?
How close? What friendliness you mean? Just all friends, with all mates. But as I said, the camaraderie was first class. I can't describe it by virtue of the fact there was no one that would ever do you if you was Peter Moss. They would never ever do your day a better. They would never do Charlie Kelly a better. Or anyone. No one, but no one would ever go against anything. If they said yes, then it's yes. If you understand what I mean. If something's missing, like you were the governor. How is it you don't know it was missing? I said, I haven't the faintest idea. I wasn't informed. I said, but my men, they'll inform me. And if you wait a minute, I'll go down, and they are the greatest people in the world. And they tell me the truth. Charlie, we never saw it. 12 men, I said, 12 men said, and I swear their life away, that what they said is true. That's the police. People with crowns up here and all that and trying to bamboozle you. If you want, when I say bamboozle you ain't getting away with that, son. Son, I've got a fucking boy older than you. I've got a bike older than you, and all that silly game. Yeah, I've got a bike older than you. I always used to say that, and I had a bike older than them. But it was true. Your Peter Moss, he said they nicked Charlie Kelly's bike bastards. He said, just to have a bet, and the bet run out. The bet run out, and I lost my bike. But that is the truth. When this dock was shutting down, you know, in the interim, when it was shutting down, you know, bits and pieces, willy-nilly and that. And someone nicked my bike, went and sold it to have a bet, thinking it was an ace in the old bet. And it's the honest truth, it ran out, so I lost my bike. Never got it back. And it was a racing bike. I used to race for Ace Wharf. I used to race from here to, from Ace Wharf to Maidstone Market, if you know Maidstone Market by the river there. From there and there back, 56 miles. And I never won a race. But I tell you what, no one could beat me for second fucking place. Year in and year out. They used to say the Kelly's second. That's true.
How did you feel when you knew the docks was closing and the Surrey was closing?
Shameful. Never thought we could have. I personally never thought that this Surrey Docks or any other dock come to that would shut down in the interim of my life. Truthfully speaking, I honestly thought that in 1936, when I had to stand in front of a jury of men to get me a ticket, when I say jury, you know I'm lying in the sense there's only 2 or 3 people, 4 people, top weight. And why do you want to go in the docks? Why do I want to go in the docks? It's our heritage. Well, my family's in the dock. Well, my family before them, in the 1880s, were in the dock. The Kellys were, I said. Don't matter about the name, sir. My card would say that. My card would tell you who I am, Charlie Kelly, with my number 15858. Or if you want the army number 600-1164. I can't believe it. He said, these people are brilliant, aren't they? You had to be brilliant because you didn't know what interim you was going to enfold yourself into. By virtue of the fact you had to walk on another strange ship. And it could even be a foreigner. And you don't know what you had to go. And our inset was the beginning of the London, of the Royal Group of docks, when they brought the Chinese and the Japanese boats in there. And there was murder. They wouldn't let us go on board. We had to fight our way aboard. All right. We was all countenance to an hard knuckle. We was learned. We was learned because we all belonged to clubs. We all belonged to clubs talking about first class boxing clubs. So we knew that this was going to be a fight up the gangway. And you had to fight. You hook. You're up. You can't. You know your dad's hook. The old S hook, like it was always in your belt. So if they got out swords, scimitars, or whatever they wanted to get out, you get your cargo all out. All right, come on, let's have you. Yeah, fucking Chinese, fucking or sons, you know. But then again,
why wouldn't they let you on the ship?
Pardon?
Why wouldn't they let you on the ship?
You had to wait until they gave carte blanche to come on the ship. They thought that we was going to take everything without being countenance to the fact that it's got to be counted. They didn't know nothing about the situation in this country. Honestly and truthfully, they didn't honestly know. The only people that was come from the northern parts, like Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Poland, and all them people, even the Russian boats, when they come in here, they were intimate. Well, I was rather remiss there, by virtue of the fact they had people there that made you put it on the shore. You couldn't put it on a boat. You couldn't put it on a barge. You couldn't put it. It had to come bit by bit, whatever it were. That's the key. And that's where it had to go. And for every set to come over, they'd have 4 people. 4 people. Yeah. You can't that. Everyone's got the same thing. And after that, the same. We come out with about 6 men on the trucks. You know, the old barrows, I talk about barrows, and you waffle it into the warehouse, like, or the sheds. You know the sheds in the docks as you've seen them. Of course you will. And you had to put it in there, and there would be persons, even like Charlie Kelly, with chalk, putting all the names, numbers, what it is, what it has on the floor. You have to chalk it on the floor. E15, something like slippers and shoes or socks. You have to put it on the floor, you know, mark it out.
When the docks closed, Charlie, did you find it easy to get work after that?
Excuse me, I was 65 years of age at 80. When the docks shut at 80, it was just a matter of 2 months.
Where was your last job at Trinity?
When was me? Oh blimey, that went about 2 years before that. Nestles.
78.
Yeah, something like that. Because I had all the boys with me. I had all the first class chaps with me. They were brilliant. They was all after trying to get round with Charlie, and I mean it truthfully. And so that's where it finished, and all the people that had been working there before working there before because they had credence. They had credence to have these people here because there was no one here because we was all fighting the Hun, sir. We was all fighting the Hun with our bows and arrows, like, and our cargo hooks. And so they became a special branch of dockers. And but the schedule was the fact that if the men come round and claim their books, well, we all came back to claim our books. Everyone had to go up Tooley Street or Chilvers Road, up just around the corner where the new pub is here. You know. And that's where 98 or 199 Chilvers Road. To get your card, you put in what I put in 1936. And the Navy collared me.
Oh yeah.
And the Navy collared me. No. But when I say that, I was in the Docks group. We was all in Docks groups here. Everyone got called up. Was in the Docks group from Folkestone, Western Hanger, the racetrack, Western Hanger. Yeah, that's Folkestone. That's Folkestone. Yeah.
Do you miss working in the Docks?
Well, it was heritage, wasn't it? It was something that your people had been in it and worked in there, and your dad got you in there. It was something that you can't realise truthfully that you had been collared into a job where really truly you didn't know nothing about. When I say that with the utmost reverence, I didn't know nothing about the Docks because at my age then, at 21, I was working in driving or doing anything untoward, working in even I was a whitewood worker. You know whitewood jobs. What they build in the kitchens and all that, all the cupboards and fine and what they call whitewood. Like, you know, and I was working in there, and yeah, pretty good. And then all of a sudden, there I was shaping for a job at Scruttons, Scruttons. And I couldn't believe it, that I was standing there in that dock and the man coming round with a ticket. Here, young'un, try your luck. Thank you very much. What you got to do? Follow them men. Oh, didn't know what to do. No more flying here. So you went, and that was your beginning. You got a truck. You was doing cheese, what they call top hats. Top hat cheeses are round thing, and they're together. Two of them, two round cheeses, and you had to walk it all the way up to the top of the hill here. You know the main road down here. You run down there, and you had to put it in the PLA coal pot. You know where all these shops are. Well, at the back of that was the PLA, and you had to come all the way down. Every time you come down, you run down to Mick Judge's. Mick Judge's is the one on the corner. I know the lights as you come round to the right. Mick Judge's, there's a cabin there. He built that in the war, let him for himself, because he had a coffee shop, coffee stall. You know the stalls you used to have when you used to go for a cup of tea 12 o'clock at night after you come out and do anything. In there, you used to dive out and go round there and have breakfast and then come back with your truck in the queue. You've only got another one to do anyway. But then it's about 11:15 to go for dinner. You know? But it's truthful. It's truthful. I had a myriad times of happiness, and I cannot visualise myself without my life. Without the Docks. I don't believe that I could have enjoyed myself or wanted to go to work in all my life. But I did. And I became someone, and at the finish I finished up an ace in the old man in the Docks group, because the Navy collared me and they said, you're in charge of all this area around here. I said, what for? They said, Well, you're the only man that can do it. You're the only one that knows how to rig a ship. You're the only one that knows how to speak their language. You're the only one. I said, well, I learn. Only by virtue of the fact you learn. You learn, and you learn and learn. At the finish up, I was doing all the American ships under the auspices of Charles Kelly. You've got to go and see that. Yeah, how about that?
I've heard of instances where
Yeah.
men have been able to adapt to life after the docks and have ended up committing suicide. Have you heard of
I
that?
haven't. No.
No.
No. I've only been here with my chaps. When I say with my chaps, all the old boys, I've watched them die to nothing, practically to nothing. I've watched them because I was on the committee, as you know, and that was at the beginning in 1972. And I've worked all the way through here. Me and your dad, we worked as such, and we governed this place that was first class. We never had cowardice or anything like that. We just went and said, excuse us. It's a club. That's all. Enjoy yourself, but don't forget, don't upset us. You ain't on.
What effect did you think it had on the dockers with the closing of the docks? Did
It was devastation,
do you
wasn't
think
it?
anyone was ever happy?
It was
after?
devastation, wasn't it? Let's be truthful. People, if you was in the dock, you knew 9 times out of 10 you had something coming your way for Christmas. I'm not talking about bunts. I'm not talking about bunts. You, by virtue of the fact that you had learned enough to earn money, you would get it by the time Christmas came round, and you'd be working day and night, and you would earn your money, and you would have your house would be your light of your workforce or rate, your working rate from the docks. User would have yourself in brand new suits, brand new there for the children. They had the best toys in the world. They had their train sets and they had their scooters and they had their bicycles. Long before a situation that has arisen at this particular time. People were paying off. People were paying off. Everyone had a club card. But not so when I'm talking about the big shops then at that particular time, when you know the bigger shops are not here as such, not here as such, but they are coming back. But talking about all of them were great big shops of toys only. Miniature gamages, right? I can only name that one. Gamages over the water, up over the city.
No, of course it is.
And you can know, yes. But all they dealt with was toys, and your children had the best because you paid for it. You paid for it. Be it a pound. Be it a pound. Many a time, people would go standing up there with a white fiver. They should say, "God, you know, look, you see that bloke's got a white fiver there." Well, that was the art of the situation where people like your dad and me lined up to do these things to get your boys, our boys, the best in the world. You should say, come round home. Of course, there was there. Everything was there. There was your whiskey and there was your gin. And it was all lined up, and your beer, whatever, and a barrel. Till it's gone, no one won't move. No one can move. You all finish up round the Barons then. The Barons' Arms, all the beacons filled.
What happened to the bus shelter where the men used to call on?
Well, that's opposite. That's opposite.
They moved it.
But they moved it opposite, yes. You used to have a bump on there at the finish. You used to get, you know, when you never went to work, you had to line up there and get your stamp for the morning, then you had to come back at 1 o'clock. Well, that situation is on the opposite side of the road. This side, and those you come up over the bridge, coming towards here. That's there. It's there. You see it there.
Why did they keep it then?
Why did they keep it?
Yeah.
Well, because it was heritage. They wasn't allowed to do away with it. the National Dock Labour Board weren't allowed to do away with it because it's heritage. Yeah, honestly, true.
Yeah, good. Right, that's it, Charlie. Is there
Is
anything
it?
else you'd like to add?
Oh no, I would only say, for my life must have been made for the Docks, because I became someone, and I became someone after I came out of the army, which I became someone in the army. I was called. They wanted to snaffle me and put me in the Foreign Legion, on the Foreign Legion, in the Foreign Office, because I knew so much about shipping overseas that they couldn't believe that one man could do a fleet of American ships and unload them in 3 days. I mean it truly. I'm not coercing myself into someone that wasn't. But doctors came to me and said, "Charlie, can I come and work with you?" I said, "No. I can't take it." "Why can't you?" Because the Navy's snaffled me. "Can't do that." I said, "You can't?" I said, "Well, I did." And I went up and see him. I said, "How comes you giving me orders and I'm in the Docks group?" I said, 1006, 1004, 1003, 1002 and 1001. I run them. I said, "How comes you took me over?" "Well, by virtue of the fact that you're the only one that's left now. We've shipped all your men away, so it leaves you." And sure enough, they had. The Navy had shipped all of my docker mates, and they went to the beginning of the invasion of Sicily at the bottom of Italy. And they were there. And so what did they do then? The Ensa. You know Ensa? All right, I could do anything. They come and collected me. He said, "You know Charlie Kelly?" He said, "Yeah." "Well, you've just joined Ensa." I said, "You can't do that." I said, "I'm in the Navy." I said, "I'm also belong to 1006 Docks Operating Group." He said, "You fucking was." He said, "You were now in Ensa. Get on the first ship and get that fucking Italy." He said, I said, you know, so, but I didn't go. I wouldn't go. No way. I wouldn't go. I said no. But they still kept coming down, and at the finish, we had the big do, didn't we? The last one were Rommel, you know, when we defeated Rommel. They got me there in that front line with a gang of men. Brilliant. They were brilliant. They could dress queers and all. Didn't make no difference, but they were brilliant. And I had to take them in the middle of the night, somewhere about 3 miles from the front. 3 miles from the front. And they was fucking hamming and tonguing it. I said, "You sure I'm all right?" I'm talking to the infantry, but the real soldiers tonight. I said, "Yeah." That's the honest truth, sir. Mate, I never moved from here, and I went back. And it was after that occasion where I had to go to Aden. The Navy sent me to Aden. There was a ship on the rocks there, and I had to get it off, but it was laden with bombs and things. By virtue of the fact it was ready to be used direct. I said, "Is that all?" I said, "I've been here." I said, "I've been everywhere in the world. I've been to Narvik. I've been name all the first class places where you had to go and fight your way out, militarily." I said, "And you give me this job." I said, "Well, you're the only one here. You're the only one that can unload it. You're the only one that knows how to unload it." I said, Is that a situation then? I'm the only one?" I said, "Well, no, you go now. I've had enough." I said, "No, after this you can go." He said, "You're going on that one, on the big ship, one of the cruisers, like, you know." And I went down there, and I had a bit of a cow and a brav with the Navy. They said, "You're in the Navy then?" I said, "I'm not in the Navy, sir. I've been captured by the Navy by virtue of the fact that I do know a little bit about shipping." I said, and that is the fact. He said, "You've got 50 wogs there. You can't." I said, "I can't." Perfect Arabic. "Into duck." Yeah, all right. I'm imitating. Yeah. "Koi killer, koi. Into that. Yeah. Go down the hill. Go down the hill. And all the 50 trooped down. They went down there. He said, what are they going to do? I said, unload your ship. Fucking hell, they'll blow us up. I said, yeah, if I walk the ship, they'll blow it up. But they won't while I'm standing here. So and I said, are you in charge of this? He said, no, but I'm the third in charge. I said, I want to see number one. Oh, you are no one. I said, you don't seem to be much further than me. So you're no one, but I want to see the number one, the person that's in charge of this ship. I have to be told something about the what we've got to do and what we haven't got to do. Seems to me we've got to unload starboard to rectify it straight away. Well, it seems to... I said, will you do as I say? Also, take my 50 men and I will walk the ship. Can't do it. I said, Connor, hit the foot. Right, they come. Up they come. Where you go? I said, see that boat down there? I'm going on that with my men. Oh, he said, I'll get the man. I'll get the commander. Yeah. What's the trouble here? He says. I said, what's the trouble? I said, I want to know what's happening. I've got men here that have got to go to work on this job, and we've got to get it off the rocks. I said, so what have I got to do? He said, you're supposed to know what you've got to do. I said, excuse me. I said, I'm a docker. Oh, he said, I thought you was a Navy Commodore. I said, I'm no one, to be truthful. I said, but if you want me to help, I said, go and find out. I said, you know where we are situated at this particular time? He said, yeah, at the beginning of the Red Sea, running up to Aden. I said, that's quite correct. I said, can you find out then if there's any convoys coming up this way, going up to Suez? He said, why would you want to know that? I said, I would like to know. Being a little bit ecumungo. What's that? I said, fucking clever. So he said, I'll do that for you. He said, you seem to be someone of a forceful attitude, he said. I said, well, I want to be. He could come back, he said, yes, there's an 8 ship coming up here. I said, well, tell them to sweep past us. Full out. Full out. So he said, why's that? I said, I just wanted you to do it. John said, Insel Dach. So down there we went again, the old 50, went down the old again. Insel Dach, Insel Dach, Insel Dach, Insel Dach, Insel Dach. Send the balls down, send the balls down. All this is ready for work. It's ready, all this stuff is ready for work. Those are. Then I got some rope, tied it round so it wouldn't slide off. Like, you know, so it wouldn't slide off, but it was going up over there. And at the finish, the fucking ship started going. I said, thank you very much, Governor. Well, everyone here, but they said, of course, that was it, wasn't it? Because I put them all over one side on the port side, and there they was doing these things, and it was going up and putting them on the deck, but faster! Why don't you do what I say? Corporal, Insel Dach, Christ, do the thing. And there I was, putting all these on my own. I said, can I have some milk? Unload these so we can get alleviate it on the port side, please. Yes, we get again. We get our men over the ship. Of course you will. Bring them up. And there they was. Next minute, someone shouting out, it's floating. I said, ta-da. Come on up. I said, come and get your money. But by virtue of the fact, it's just plain thinking, and yet all these Navy men don't want to have the arsehole of it, because if it never works, they say, you lose your fucking command. Not me, I couldn't lose fuck all. All they could do is send me home in disgrace, and I never had a fucking thing on me. And I started there in 1939 in Folkestone. 1939 I started in there, and I came out in 1980. Yes, as I told you, there wasn't a fucking strike on there, and everyone fucking accoladed me. And they all come round and they said, you are in the what's now, you know that, don't you? You're going on the Foreign Office. I said, go fuck yourself, I'm going home. And I walked out.
Nice one, Charlie.
That is the truth.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
There is not one false lie in what I told you. I mean it truthfully.
Great talking.
Yeah, and it's tell your dad.
Yeah, I will.
And tell him that young Charlie Kelly, he was brilliant. Yeah.